Hi everyone, welcome back to this space where we learn, grow, and have fun at the same time. My name is Maureen, and this week is story time. It's story time. I'm going to share about my favorite class. But before we get into it, the scripture. Today's scripture comes from 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 11 to 12. It says, "Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, and to work with your hands, just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you will not be dependent on anybody." That's the scripture. Mind your own business. So let's get in it. Story time. And I love stories. I love listening to stories. I don't know if there's anyone who loves hearing stories. I have a story about my favorite class in my entire formal education. My favorite class happens to be in a school that I spent 1 year in as a 9-year-old, and that happens to be primary 4. How come it's my favorite class? So let me go back a little bit. Let me take you the backstory before we get to primary 4. So from a nursery to primary 3, I was in a school where my mother was present every single day. Yeah, she was around. My mother's are teachers. I'm proud they are. So she was there, from nursery to primary 3, and she's a teacher and she's tough. Like, she don't play. So I lived all those years, nursery to primary, actually from way back, but nursery to primary 3. As a kid, even the teachers around, they're trying to monitor you. And I changed school in primary 4 because the school I was in, had just started, so it ended at primary 3 at the time. So I had to change school in primary 4. I go to this school and I'm a new kid. I'm 9 years old. I'm in primary 4. And the only person who knew me in that school was the school matron. She wasn't a teacher. She was just a school matron. That was the only person who knew me in the school. And I wasn't a boarding student. So I think, I don't know how everything happened, because I wasn't intentional about anything. But I think I was this kid, I was this bird that was with the mother all the time, and you needed to let your wings fly for a moment. Like, the moment your mom goes away, you're like, I'm flying. I'm flying. Whether I know or I don't, I'm flying. That was me. So I get to the school, and I don't even know how I met these people, especially this person, how we became friends. She was a daughter to the school director. And that year, because I was in the school 1 year, that year I never saw the school director, because I heard that he had gone abroad for further studies. So I think this kid too was also living her best life, because her father, the school director, wasn't in the school. So we got together. She was like the president, and I'm like the deputy. I don't know how we got ourselves that positions, but just, yeah. And we had a clique of other like 8 girls. So we were 10. We 10 young girls, and we were running. You wouldn't tell us anything. You wouldn't. I had a big bag. I had my new stuff, mathematical set, ruler. Like, I had new stuff. And it was stolen, I think, in the first 2 weeks. Everything, like, it was stolen. Except the books. I think they didn't steal the books. But the rest, I didn't know where they went. But we lived our best life. We were clique. We weren't scared. Even primary 7 kids were like, we used to move in the group, and we used to enjoy. I enjoyed. Now there are scenarios that I still remember, that the ones that I really want to point it to. So there is this scenario. A science teacher, like teachers, sometimes they be too much. Like, I don't even know where they get the ideas. This science teacher comes, we are doing the midterm exams, and she tells us, before we get into the exam, she says, if you know you're not going to get 85 and above, come and you get 1 stroke of a cane. It did make sense to me. I was younger, but it was like, it didn't make sense. If I know what, haven't done the paper, For me, that was what it was in my head. Like almost 90% of the class went and they got their one stroke of a cane. The thing was, if you don't go for the one stroke of a cane and you fail to get 85 in the paper, you're getting 5. First of all, I don't deal with canes. And the situation didn't make sense to me. So I didn't go. I refused to go, not because I thought I would get 85. At least I would, probably the 5 canes would make sense, but the one didn't make sense to me. Maybe I would now know, like, okay, I failed to get 85. Now I'm getting 5 strokes of a cane. But the one, because I'm not sure if I'll get 85, it really didn't make sense. I didn't go. So she was like, she's marking those who didn't go for the one stroke of a cane first. We did the paper. We went in, did the paper, you know. We had one of the brilliant guys, he hands in his paper, he got, he passed the mark. And then there's this other girl, she was part of that clique. She gives in her paper and she fails to get to the mark. She went down for 5. Now there was mine. I took mine and I got 87. I didn't get the 5. I didn't get the 5 canes. And this girl goes out and tells it. The reason she didn't go for the cane, for the one stroke of a cane, was like, like she's a newcomer. How can she be better than me? In her head, she thought I didn't go because I thought I was good. I didn't go because it didn't make sense. That was the reason I didn't go for the canes. I fear canes. I'm like, that's the reason I didn't go. For her, she thought it was because I thought I was good. So she depended on she didn't go for the one, and her reason was because Maureen hasn't gone, and I should be better than her. She's even a newcomer. She's just a new student, and she ended up getting it. And my reason was, at least I think God was like, your reason is valid. Why would they give you one? And because of that reason, so I'm gonna save you and give you an 87. Yeah. And I laughed about this. I laughed it for that reason. But anyway, he went on. Another scenario. So I was those kids who used to do their homework at school. Those legends you hear about. Homework at school. That's where I do my homework from. Yeah. Now, this unfortunate time, I don't know how it happened. I didn't do the homework. When I got home, I did my things because my mom came in later. I used to open the door I knew the routine. So I did the stuff I had to do. Mom comes back, we eat supper, go to bed. Next day, I wake up and my mom is there. She's like, let me see your homework book. Never asked me that. I'm like, okay. I removed my homework book. I think the moment she had already opened, you know how mothers be. She had already opened the book and she knew I hadn't done no homework. And I think before I even opened it clearly, the slap was like, yeah. I was like, oh dear. Nah, I do the homework there and then. And I go to school thinking things are okay. Okay, not okay, but like, okay, good. But yeah, over Dianga, who is at school? My mother. She was at school. And before we know it, they're calling they didn't just call me. I think someone was giving, maybe the schoolmate. The schoolmate wasn't in the school. Okay, I don't know how everything happened, but she was in the school. Of course, mothers follow up. Okay, parents follow up on their children. And they didn't just call me. They called the whole clique, 10 of us. They called all of us. And going to the head teacher's office, I find my mom. I tell them she's my mom. And they talk to all of us. This is the clique. They are stubborn. They do this. They do that. They don't sit in class. They always talk in class. We were dramatic. And then the head teacher was like, I'm giving each of you, you're 10. So each of you is receiving 10 strokes of a cane. And then the president, the self-appointed president of the clique is like, no crying. I'm like, no crying. Hey, no crying. Fear determination. I tell you, trust me, Maureen, you tell me I'm going to give you 2 strokes of a cane and I'm running around. I went down for 10 and I didn't cry. There was one kid who cried and she was like, and she wasn't so committed even to that clique. We didn't cry. And then she was like, Banang, Tebakabi. You can imagine short girls, 9 years, around 9, 10, and we're running this thing. That situation ended. We had another situation. This teacher calls all of us because we were known. He's like, come in front and explain this and this. And one of the group, like the one we thought is part of that clique. So we're like, the president calls, like, call your friends, like Maureen, call your friend. Like, we're calling each other so that like 10 of us get over. So we're standing in front of the class. And the other girl refuses. She's like, I'm not their friend. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. She denied us in public. So I think by the end of that year, we were nine. We were nine. Then this was the best. I think, okay, I don't know if the best, but funny to me. We have a trip, and all my friends are paying for the trip. They were like, Maureen, aren't you going for the trip? You ask your mom for money. I go and I tell my mom. I'm like, Mama, I'm sorry, I sent us that trip. It's like, where are you going? Tour. Where are you going? I'm like, Diddy's World. She was like, haven't you gone there? Meanwhile, I had gone to Diddy's World like 3 times. Diddy's World, like, I had gone to Diddy's World like 3 times. She was like, haven't you ever gone there? I was like, I've ever. So I shut up. I went back to school. I told my friends I'm not going. They felt sad because I'm quiet, but I'm a vibe when you are with me. And I think I didn't know back then when I was a kid, but I think I have my vibe with me all along. I had it. So they felt sad that I'm not going. Anyway, the day is tomorrow for the trip. And they call all of us in the school main hall to read the names of the people who are going for the trip. Because this other kid, my closest friend, was the director's kid. Of course, she was sure she's going. So she's standing with me. We are behind the hall. We're not even paying attention. And then they're reading names. And then we come to primary four and they read names. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. They read Nachibake Maureen. We jumped. We celebrated. Like two of us. It's like, where are you going? Like, I was all over the place because I was going for that trip. I went back home. I was on my best behavior. I washed my uniform. I cleaned my shoes. My mom used to do that. Like, okay, she used to wash my uniform for me. I washed my uniform that day. She came back, everything is set, and I was like, I knelt down and I was like, Mama, we were like, that trip. Like, thank you for paying the trip for me. I was like, hey, or like, because I knew, of course, no one would pay for the trip for me except my mama. She's like, hey, did they read your name? I'm like, yes. Wake up in the morning, she ironed my uniform. She gives me over 500. I don't even remember the money she gave me. Now we go for that trip. Remember, they told us we are going to Didi's World. Do you know where we ended up in? Night Hill. We went to Night Hill. We went to, which other place? We went to those places that I wanted to go to I was like, I would go back to Didi's World anytime, any day during that time. They took us to Ginger Badia. But the good thing, we had fun with my friends. And at the end of the year, I passed primary four. I didn't know what was happening. But then I got to change school. They changed me school. They took me to the elite schools where kids are like these bush kids. There was no way I was flying my wings. But what I really remember about primary four is I let my wings fly. Meanwhile, the other thing I didn't tell you is like the food. The school matron, I used to eat fried beans every single day. Mele yaba teacher. Mele ya staff. Hey, I enjoyed it. Primary four was it for me. I used to eat on staff food. Lunch every day. Staff food, bijanjaro bisik. Yeah, it was surely my favorite class. Nothing else. I made better friends, later in life. I met other people, but that I have that memory with me because I think it's the time I tried to fly with my wings, just be free. It wasn't yet time, I believe, because I don't know what would have happened if I had just stayed here more years. I don't know what would have happened because imagine she's just in for just 1 year and she's a problem already. I got to change school and there I put back my wings because that was my other mother in that other school. I couldn't fly. And the school was strict, a bit strict than the other one I came from. But I'm glad I had a primary four. I'm glad I had I have those memories. I look back at them and I laugh at it and I'm like, okay, I had a good time. That was my favorite class in my entire education. So if you have a favorite class, you can share in the comment section. That's it for today. It's been story time with Maureen. Till next time, remember to spread love and not hate.